Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, your personal weatherman, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype here on your Tuesday, November the 12th, 2024. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we're tracking here for today as we're going to be seeing some rains building into the southeast over the next couple days, as well as the Pacific Northwest. We're going to talk about our tropical threat. Looks like we're going to be seeing Sarah here pretty soon. We'll talk about the trajectory on this particular system as it's developing in the Caribbean. And we're also going to talk about our potential, what's call it potential, first Arctic outblast of the season. And now, hey, if you're new to the channel, I first want to say thank you for joining us here on the Weather Nerds channel. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And if you like what you see, as always, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. All right, let's go take a look at what we're seeing on our satellite imagery here for today. Very quiet across the eastern third of the United States. Got a little bit of moisture, low clouds down here along the Gulf Coast here. And you notice this stuff right here, it's not moving? That right there, my friend, is all that heavy snow that they got there across Colorado and into New Mexico. But we do have a storm system here across the Intermountain region and another bigger storm here coming off the west coast coming in as well. It's a little bit of subtropical upper moisture here coming in out of the Pacific and into Texas right now. All right, let's look at our surface map. We got big front hill sweeping across the eastern third of the United States. These are chilly, but not overly cold. Definitely not by, almost mid-November standards here. And looks like we're going to see the rain here increasing across the southeast. In fact, some of the moisture that's been left over from Raphael is going to get pulled northward here as we watch our next storm system. It's going to exit out into the plains. And we're going to see some of this rain here kind of expand across areas that kind of need it across the southeast. Now, look at our current watches and warnings. Other than some areas of fog here and there, we got some windy conditions here in the brown. Really not that bad. A little winter weather advisories here across Utah and parts of Colorado, but really not looking too bad from a watch warning perspective here for today. Out on the west coast, we're going out here to near Oregon. There's Olympia, Washington, and Oregon. Astoria, seeing some rain here. It's got some of this rain that's going to continue to inundate this area. In fact, the areas up here in the Pacific Northwest probably going to see the most rainfall over the next 10 days than anywhere else in the country, and we'll show you those when we get to the model data here in just a second. As we take a look at our weather city of the day, it is San Diego, California. Going to be a beautiful day out here as we're going to see plenty of sunshine and a high temperature today of 68 degrees. And hey, if you'd like to nominate your city as the weather city of the day and you know of a good webcam in your area, please take that link, paste it down below, and we'll consider it for a future broadcast. All right, let's go ahead and take a look over now at the Storms Prediction Center as we're going to be seeing how things are working out here as far as thunderstorm threats. And looks like we're going to see maybe a pocket of seeing some storms come out here coming into late tonight and going into tomorrow. This is where that system starts to eject out into the plains. You got a few storms down here along the Gulf Coast and just a general thunderstorm threat up there from Nebraska stretching back into Kansas. So not looking too bad there with the thunderstorms. And we'll go and track this over the next couple of days here to see how this progresses as we take a look at the day 2 outlook here. That shifts over to the Gulf Coast. So we got some hefty thunderstorms potentially across Mississippi, Louisiana, and getting over parts of Alabama as we go into your Wednesday. So that's what we're looking like for that day. And then we'll finally take a look at our day 3 outlook here. And their day 3 outlook, again, just a general thunderstorm threat there across portions of Georgia and Alabama and the Florida Panhandle, and a little bit up and down the west coast here from Washington State back down into areas of Northern California. So those are our 2 zones watching for thunderstorms as we go into your Thursday. So not looking too bad there. All right, how about we take a look at where we're going to see that excessive rainfall? Where's that flash flood threat going to be? Well, for today, not looking too bad here. We're talking about areas up here across the Pacific Northwest, obviously, with that continued onshore flow, that thunderstorm, that storm system coming in there on the west coast. And as far as the day 2 outlook is concerned, day 2 outlook looks like we'll shift that into areas of the south. Obviously, we got the moisture coming in out of the Gulf, and we got the system kicking in there. So we're going to see that here along from Kentucky down to the Gulf Coast here, and again out here on the west coast from Washington State down into Northern California, looking right there. Day 3 outlook doesn't show anything, so we're looking pretty good there on our day 3 outlook. Now, as far as going beyond that, taking a look at our 3 to 7 day hazard, looks like we got a little pocket of maybe some heavier rains coming here a little bit later as we go in toward Iowa and areas of Oklahoma and into Missouri. And again, that's in your 3 to 7 day outlook. And we'll show you the storm system responsible for that a little bit later when we look at the model data. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the tropics, okay? Obviously, folks are tired of the hurricane season, and you know what? I know I can understand that. We only got a few more weeks left. And looks like we're going to get another named storm there in the Caribbean. And it's, again, an 80% chance we'll see something the next couple of days, 40% chance next couple of days, 80% chance in the next 7 days. So running pretty high for right now. So what we're seeing right now is it's this system out here that's basically drifting off to the west. As it gets over to further to the west, it's expected to develop into a tropical depression. Likely to become a tropical storm and maybe even a hurricane, but its trajectory, I'm telling you, it's a little bit crazy, a little bit wild to say the least on this one. That is for sure. Now, as we take a look at the seawater temperatures, one thing I have noticed, I wanted to bring this up, is that the water temperatures down here, I noticed, have gone back up to 30 degrees Celsius, so it's very warm. It's 87 degrees Fahrenheit, so it is bath water, plenty of fuel to sustain a tropical system. It's a question of the environment it's in. It's going to stay conducive or not. So let's talk about what we're going to be seeing here as far as what the ESAN's ensemble model is looking at. It's looking at the different model plots here. So we go ahead and load this thing up. As you can see here, it is showing something developing down here in the Caribbean. So you see it's moving to the west, and then it kind of meanders. It goes west, goes back to the east. It kind of shifts there for a few days. Then it begins to make a trajectory move up toward the north at that time. So, or does it make a right turn? So the models are kind of all over the place. Looks like something may pick it up, trough coming in from the north that may pull it to the north. But again, its trajectory over the next few days are going to be crazy. West, going back to the east, going back to the north. It is really kind of a crazy track we're going to see on this one. That's for sure. Let's go switch over to the model data. Let's talk about this. This is the European model here. The overnight model is we're going to see this thing come to develop here. We'll just kind of take it all the way out here to about Thursday. So by the time we get to about Thursday, it looks like we're starting to see something developing out here in the Caribbean at that time. So as we go past Thursday, in the next couple days, as we get just to the west, and then it's getting stronger. The pressure's starting to fall. The pressure drops to 987 millibars. So we got a tropical storm by the time we get to this upcoming Saturday and Sunday. And it's moving back to the east again. And it's kind of stuck, and then turns around and moves back the other direction. Then it gets up toward the Yucatan and into Cuba. Then it makes a right turn and then goes that way. So it's a very crazy track to watch this thing. We're going to get a storm, likely to get a hurricane. I think at this point it's showing 936 millibars. So that's a major hurricane out there. And then it comes back up and then makes a right turn there. So we could see a major hurricane, another one to add to our total for this year, and then make a right turn into Cuba at that point. That's the same area that got blasted obviously from our last storm from Rafael, and they may get it again. So we'll see what happens as we go into next week to see if that comes true or not. Now, looking at our short-term forecast here, the thing we're going to be watching here is going to be this system that's ejecting out here on the Rockies. That's going to set up some storms out here a little bit later. That's going to fire up there in the portion. It's got that little pocket of severe weather. That'll be during the overnight and morning hours that we were showing you there for portions of Texas and Oklahoma as we go into the overnight hours. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. This is the high-resolution model here. As this system begins to kick on out here, boom, there's the thunderstorms that flare up there during the overnight hours. So that we're talking about Kansas, Oklahoma, parts of Texas maybe getting into there, seeing the thunderstorms flare in response to that low ejecting out of the Rockies. Got another system coming out here on the west coast, and we're starting to tap some of this moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico out ahead of that next system. That's going to feed that system as it begins to push off toward the east. So as that low pulls on out, we'll see the rains increase as we go throughout the day on your Wednesday for tomorrow across Minnesota and switching back toward Missouri. Obviously, you got the rains there in the lower Mississippi Valley, heading from Tennessee down in toward Louisiana. And that'll continue to push off toward the east as we go throughout the day on your Wednesday. It looks like some healthy rains getting into parts of Alabama as we go from Wednesday night and into Thursday. Thursday looks like the best rain chances going into Georgia as well there as we go later into this work week. All right, let's look at the overall jet stream pattern. Again, this is that river air that drives the weather systems across the country, all right? So as we go take this thing forward in time, we watch that system eject on out. This is our trough here that is bringing us that storm system that's going to be bringing the rains I just showed you there as it kind of kicks on out. Then we got another trough following behind that, so a very progressive pattern. Another thing that I've noticed here with European is it's doing a lot of cut-off lows and pinch-offs. We're really not really tapping any real true really super cold air as we're just getting these little cold eddies that kind of spin up and break off. So there's another one there. We see another system here ejecting into this upcoming weekend. So pretty active weather pattern out here in the west continuing. You see in the big high pressure ridge here, some high pressure again back out here in the Gulf. So we got the high pressure ridge down here across the Gulf. It'll be pretty mild there across the south going into this upcoming weekend. Now, as we go into beyond the 10-day, this kicks on out, and then we get another big pinch-off low, and this will be some pretty cold air here pinching off. The difference between the European and the American GFS model is that the European continues to pinch off these cold pockets out, where the GFS wants to try to tap some cold air and bring it down this way beyond the 10-day. And I'm going to show you the comparison here in just a second to explain that a little bit. So this cutoff low again brings a little chunk of cold air down with it over the Rockies, and it just kind of sits there. And then it basically, as we go out the 10-day, the East Coast is just marginally cold, but not bad. This is a pretty good pocket of cold air across the West. All right. So let's take a look at the precipitation models. Let's go track the storm systems across the country. We back this up again here as we go ahead and look at the 0Z. As we can see the storm system coming on out of the Rockies and into the south. Again, this is what the high resolution model was showing here, with the rains from the lower Mississippi Valley all the way up into Minnesota as we go throughout the day on your Wednesday. And that'll continue to progress off toward the east as we go into your Thursday. So Thursday, we're talking about the Ohio River Valley stretching down into the southeast, getting some fair rains, nothing that's overly heavy. We're getting some rains, still getting that onshore flow out on the west coast with a series of storms coming in out there as well. Let me turn that off. Oops, sorry about that. I was trying to clear out my stab there. So let's continue this moving off toward the east. And it looks like this weekend, look at that, coast to coast looking pretty good for this weekend. Not bad at all for Saturday. Saturday looking pretty good. A little wet on the west coast there on Sunday, but really not bad. We got again that upper level low coming in here, forming into California. This low pressure system here that's cutting off here, that's upper level low. We're going to tap some of that moisture out of the Pacific and throw it into the southwest as we go in toward Monday. And as this thing progresses into the week, this follows a similar path to the other one, although I'm not anticipating this to be a big snowstorm like the last one was. The heights are not as cold here. This is very similar to the last big heavy snow event we had across Colorado and into New Mexico. This going into Monday the 18th. I'm not anticipating another big snowstorm with this. The higher elevations, yes, but I just don't think it's going to be bad out there on the foothills this time around. Although subject to change, obviously, if it's colder by just a few degrees, that's all it takes, especially in that part of the world when you're dealing with higher elevations. So that thing kicks on up toward the north here and switches on out. Here comes our hurricane here showing up here on the European model as we head toward Monday, as it's going to be making a right turn here. Now, it's a question of, well, when does it make that right turn? You got this pretty good trough here coming off, but again, this is a big cutoff low. It's not really going to be pushing off toward the east that much because the jet stream's not pushing it that way, as I was just showing you there with the jet stream. So we're not getting that big push, so this thing's just going to take a right turn and go that way. And then we got this big cutoff pocket of cold air here, and the main cold air is still locked up here toward the north on the 21st of November. Now, I've seen a lot of stuff out on social media showing a blast around the 21st on that. The European's not exactly showing it. The American GFS is kind of backing off a little bit, but showing a little bit as well. Let's talk about that Arctic blast threat here after I get done with the rainfall here real quick. Let's do this rainfall. There's the rain across the southeast here over this upcoming couple of days. Decent. I'd say, about ½ inch or so for most locations. Very heavy rains out on the west coast. That's going to continue as well here. And I'll take this all the way on out here for the 10-day. You can see that next storm system coming out of the southwest. So we're going to see that, again, heavy rains here coming in across portions of New Mexico. Higher elevations will get some snows, obviously, on this, but a lot of that's going to be in the form of rain, okay? All right, now let's take a look at the temperatures, okay? So what we're going to do, we're looking at our temperature anomaly here as we take a look at this. Again, we're looking at going throughout the day on Wednesday as we see not bad here this week. Not overly cold. We got below normal out here on the west coast. Again, we're at 850. We're looking at the temperatures at about 5,000 feet. It kind of helps to track it in the natural daytime heating fluctuations. It just makes it easier to track the colder pockets of air. So as we progress this thing on through, most of the country, look at this weekend. Very, very warm this weekend, folks, from running above normal. Well, we'll really call it warm. We'll call it relatively warm for this time of year. Let's put it that way. Here across the middle of the country here, colder temperatures out here on the west coast. That's been a theme that we've seen most of this fall, obviously, and we'll go ahead and take this out into the following week. So we get that cutoff low forming again, and you see these temperatures getting progressively colder here as we head toward the 21st. So we'll back right there. Big pull of cold air here across the west, but we're not tapping anything up here again on the European. That's what it's not showing. So we're seeing that take, and it's just kind of sitting there. All right, so this is the European model. Let's compare this to the American GFS model. I can go out further and take a look out to kind of get an idea of what we're looking like Thanksgiving week. I know we're kind of getting into the holiday mode. Notice the difference here. This is the European, this is the GFS. GFS is a little more robust with that upper level feature, showing a big pool of cold air out here in the west, all right? One thing that the GF is going to show here, and as I take this future, is we're going to see some sort of cold air kind of come down here and reinforce this and then begin to push this off toward the east. So as I take a look at this and we go and take this forward, you see that cold pool, there it is right there, boom, coming in toward the Friday the 22nd, going into that as we get a new storm system to develop here going in toward Friday. So we got a low pressure system that's going to form here across the Dakotas, and this thing's going to check off this direction. And that's going to mean that we get the cold air to finally show up here across the eastern portion of the United States. So boom, it starts to move, and there it goes, going into the weekend, going into the week of Thanksgiving. That's the week I've been calling for this. Look at most of the country here on Monday. We're talking most of the country here showing below normal temperatures here for most of the continental United States going into late in the day on Monday on the 26th. And as we take this all the way out, and this kind of takes us to the rest of the Thanksgiving week, relatively average or a little below average for a lot of the country going that week. Now, as far as temperature is concerned, I want to go ahead and show this a little quick snapshot here. Looking at the American GFS starting on the 21st, one thing that's clear is we're building snows out in the mountains. The temperatures out here are definitely getting colder, seeing single digits out there for lows now, getting out toward the higher elevations of the Rockies. And this begins to push off toward the east. Look at this. Now we're starting to see below zero, something we've not seen so far this year, seeing some below zero at the higher elevations, even getting into the Dakotas a little bit as we head towards Saturday the 23rd. And then we progress this forward again, going in towards Sunday. Look at all the below zero temperatures out here across Wyoming, parts of Colorado, minus 16, minus 21. Seeing that cold air, and some of that cold air is going to eject off toward the east, according to the American GFS model. And as we go into Monday, you see it kind of shifting out here toward the plains a little bit, out here to the Dakotas with some below zero temperatures. Big swath of 20s out here, now getting into the deep south, freezing temperatures all the way to the Gulf Coast. So we're, again, getting that first real Arctic blast for a lot of areas, especially especially across the south. Look at these lows here going into Tuesday morning here on the 26th. Below zero temperatures out here across the Dakotas. Again, 20s getting in down toward Birmingham and into Little Rock, Arkansas. 20s across the Ohio River Valley. So definitely much, much colder here on the American GFS model here as we go in toward Thanksgiving week. So this is Wednesday morning, the day before Thanksgiving. A lot of the country looking at below normal temperatures. So what is the Climate Center saying on this? Let's look at what they're saying here on the 6 to 10 day outlook. I do want to point out a couple of changes here. Obviously, we're still looking warm here in the east, cold here in the west. That's how it's been here for a little while. But this is from the 17th to the 21st. Now, look what happens here if we take it to the 25th. We're trimming this away. This is the first significant change I've seen on this in a while. Still below normal, obviously, out here in the west. Still relatively warm here in the east. But where the question mark is, the GFS, the European was cutting off the low and not really moving it much that way. We're not quite far enough out to see if we get a blast to come down here out of Canada to kind of push this off toward the east or not with that storm system. So we'll watch this closely. I think this is going to change a little bit in the next couple of days, but I do suspect we'll get some colder temperatures here in the east in some form or get closer to normal. Precipitation-wise, November 17th to the 21st, we're seeing above normal precipitation here across, especially the middle portion of the country. Obviously, we've got a couple of waves coming in through this period as well, with that upper low kicking out of the southwest. This shifts off toward the east. Below normal precipitation as it settles down out here in the west for the northwest and the southwest, and still looking at above normal precipitation here across the east. Again, a lot of areas in the southeast, because of how dry it was in October, still fighting some drought conditions. So any kind of rain relief in this part of the country is definitely well appreciated here as we go deeper into the month of November. So we got a lot to watch, folks. We got an Arctic blast that potentially coming in. Obviously, snow's out in the west. We got another hurricane we're gonna have to watch as well. And the trajectory and track of Sarah, I still think plays a factor. Whenever you get a hurricane to form, if it gets drawn up into a higher latitude, it can change the overall global trajectory of the jet stream. So where it ultimately goes might have an impact on our global weather pattern. So we're going to watch that very closely as well. So hey, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, what you waiting for, my friend? Why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And if you like what you see with this report, as always, please leave me down a comment down below. I do appreciate your support here on the channel. All right, that's your Weather Daily for today. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.